Hello everyone, it's Eeyore again from Winnie the Pooh, and today we are once again talking about a leak that happened on the Gaijin forums, specifically the War Thunder forums, this time for a vehicle that isn't even in the game. This is actually not the first time we've had a vehicle that's not in the game have some classified leaks on the forum, but I'm sure this also won't be the last either. This is for the F-14D. We do actually have some of the F-14s in the game, but not the F-14D, which is kind of funny. But this time, it's one which once again has some restrictions on it, and we're going to have that wonderful conversation once again that we have every time. But it's available online, Eeyore. Why can't that? Does that not mean that it is publicly available and not confidential or not under any restrictions? No, it doesn't, random person. It just means somebody's put it online when it shouldn't be online. Welcome to the internet. And then the next one. Oh, but Eeyore, it's only export restricted. Isn't that fine? Because it means that the country that has it says it's okay to see, but the other country that, has it exported to saying it's not okay to see? No, random person. That's not how it works. And you are also not allowed to publicly show it. Now, Esmin actually commented on this thing, and he basically said something being available online does not mean it is fully and legally declassified, which should be quite obvious to anybody who understands anything about the online space. Do you think just pirating is just legal across the board or like anything like that? Export restrictions and other classifications exist. Do not under any circumstances post or attempt to share a source here without clear proof that it is fully and legally declassified without any restrictions, export, ITAR, etc. Will never use or handle such sources. So there you go. That is at least showing that what was shown is not going to be used by Gaijin and also not publicly available in their eyes. Basically what happened is a forum user questioned one of the changes that happened to the F-14. You may remember with the AIM-7s and also the M54s, they moved around where you can actually hold certain missiles, kind of nerfing it because you can't bring as many Phoenixes now. And basically what they did is they leaked the F-14D flight manual, which is subject to export restrictions, and the document itself has been online obviously for years. Doesn't mean it's publicly available. I know those two things are weird to think about, but just understand that. And it falls under the US Distribution Statement C, which means it's authorized for distribution only to US government agencies and also their contractors. So if you have access to it, or if you have it, and you are not part of those two entities, you are not supposed to have it. And that is pretty much just how this goes. So yeah, we have another case of people trying to use information that should not be publicly available, but to try and use it to influence War Thunder. This is probably the 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th, or maybe even 50th time this has happened, and it is just getting worse every single time. There is a fundamental misunderstanding when it comes to the law around these things, and we really have a problem in terms of people just going ahead and using stuff without thinking or even realizing that international stuff exists, because what can be okay in one country might not be okay in the next country. And that's where the online era comes into really weird focus, because as you may have noticed, different places, different countries have different restrictions on different parts of online media. And also this pertains to how they actually handle data as well. One of the interesting things that I learned about Sweden in my travels, and also learning about how a lot of their stuff works, they kind of have on their restricted stuff, they have kind of like an automatic 50-year kind of classification for something, unless in court it is asked to be publicly accessible, and then from there the court can decide whether it should be or not. So that's kind of like how Sweden works. America works differently with their classification systems, same with Britain, same with France, same with every other country. So it's one of those where you could learn that you think that a certain thing should be publicly available because another place does it like that, but it just doesn't apply to it at all, which is what makes this thing a massive mess. And it's why Gaijin needs to either be very, very careful about these things, or have contacts in basically every single government, at least the major ones, and ask them if these things are okay. And we know that that's the case because in the past, there have been messages from specific kind of War Thunder employees who've talked about that they have messaged people in the government, whether it's the MOD in Britain or whether it's other places, asking them if things are okay. And if they say no, then of course it's not. At the end of the day, Gaijin doesn't want these things spread, right? They don't want this information out there, and they don't want to be targeted with this stuff. And because of the fact that they don't want to break any laws and they want to make sure to keep what is theirs running. And this is going to lead to problems, as it always does, kind of going forward, because people just get annoyed when things are not the way that they want them to be, and then they just keep going over and over again, and it just is really sad. And with tanks used to be the big thing, where things would get kind of leaked or posted when they were supposed to be publicly available. There was even one kind of classified document that was doctored to make it look like it should have been publicly available, which is, declassified, which shows you the length that people are going to right now for specific things. They are photoshopping stuff which is classified to make it look like it is declassified. And now, when it comes to other areas of War Thunder, it's just, once again, getting worse. And this isn't going to change. It will just keep getting worse, and that's just sad. I wish it was different. I really do. I wish we could all just come together. We could all just enjoy what is in the game itself. But there are so many different splinters now of this community who are heavily invested in very specific things, and they're just going to keep going down that road of just leaking stuff over and over and over again. And every excuse in the book is going to be brought out. And the only time this ever stops, if there is a person who gets basically battered on the head with some kind of things to do with it. But the problem is, you'll never know that. You'll never know if somebody does, because it will be done in private. It will not be done publicly, and this will just keep on happening. It reminds me of, there was a guy, this was years ago when it came to War Thunder. One of his parents worked with something to do with tanks in Britain. And what ended up happening is the father or the mother left just like a bunch of documents in their office, and they were using, then this kid was like maybe 12 or 13, and they were using like the family computer, and the guy was like posting about stuff online that he was reading in the book, in the folders. And then what ended up happening is people like, what do you mean? Like this, how do you know all this information? And the person was like, oh, well, my parent worked here. And then when they were like, no, that's just dumb. You're just a stupid little kid. The guy ended up scanning a bunch of the stuff and then just sticking it online. So that is a kid who should not be able to get access to any of this stuff, but does get access to it because of parents just kind of screwing up. And now in the online age, there is so much information at people's fingertips, whether it be legally there or illegally there. And there's so many different points of information flying all over the place. There is no way the authorities can keep up with everything. It's just going to get worse. And it just makes me sad. And I think going forward, at least for me, I think I'll just join good old, Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh, and just go and live in that world. So peace be with you. You're out. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.